I don't often get cheap on you guys, but today we are taking a deep dive into cheap. This video is top 10 cheapies for life and toss out the rest. Bit dramatic. Stay tuned. I'm Chris, you're watching FRAG-MENTAL. I've been tagged to make this video by my good friend Josh over at the channel Scent Sense. I love that guy. Josh and I have been going on our channels for about the same amount of time, and Josh is just a great positive guy in the community. So thanks for tagging me, Josh. If you've not checked out Scent Sense, I will leave a link in the description to Josh's channel, and go over there and show him some love and give him a sub and he'll appreciate it. So will I. So 10 cheapies to keep for life and toss out the rest. Obviously we've had the videos of designers for life and niche fragrances for life, but I like this idea of cheapies because we all love a good cheapie. No collection is complete without a good cheapie. Whether you bought cheap fragrances as you were starting out your collection, or whether you've got a fully fledged massive collection and you still enjoy buying cheap fragrances just to throw in the bottom of the gym bag and not even care about, but you still want to smell good, well, that's what this list is about. Some of the cheapies on this list I'm sure you'll have seen on plenty of other cheapie lists as well. There are some popular ones here, but I've tried to get a few maybe different ones that you haven't heard talked about before, so I've just tried to balance it out. This might be your first time tuning in, it might be the first video you're watching about cheap fragrances, so I don't want to leave out some of the cheapie classics, so I've tried to get a good mix in there. In terms of what these cost, they range from £1 all the way up to around about £35. Wasn't quite sure what the limit was in terms of price and what is classed as a cheapie, but I think the one I've got here at £35 is still very much worthy of being included in a cheapie list because it is fantastic value. Alright, let's start talking about the fragrances. The first one I'm going to mention is no stranger to cheapie lists. I'm sure most of you have heard about this, but just in case you haven't, I did want to mention it. This is from the house of Calvin Klein, which are a very affordable house, so great house to start out with if you're just getting into collecting fragrances. This one is under £20 for the 100ml bottle. I'm talking about CK1 Shock. Considering the price, this one has surprising depth and performance. It's got a great opening pop, it's got a lovely sweetness to the fragrance. There's a fantastic pairing of tobacco and amber, which helps give it this depth and this real feel of quality. Okay, it's maybe not the most natural smelling of fragrances, it's not the best of all tobacco fragrances or amber fragrances, but all things considered, it's a very good fragrance. Everything works well with this. I paid around £17 for this 100ml bottle, which is more than I'll probably ever need. I think you can pay not a lot more to get the 200ml bottle, so it really is cheap stuff. So if you love it, you can buy the big bottle and just drench yourself in it and have no worries about how much it's cost you, because you can just get another bottle. If you want a fragrance that smells great and doesn't cost very much at all, CK1 Shock is a great place to begin your cheapie collection. The next one is the most expensive fragrance on the list at a whopping £35. Might be different where in the world you are, but here in the UK you can pick this one up for £35. This is for 100ml. The quality of this is way better than its price tag. I feel like this one should cost a lot more. The value is fantastic. From the house of Galan, it's Galan's Vetiver. This one has, particularly in the opening, a lovely, clean, classic style citrus accord, and then there's some florals and obviously the vetiver, slightly smoky, slightly earthy, but it's got a good weight to the base. We've got some tobacco, some leather, myrrh and civet. So civet is an animalic note, so just has a lovely little animalic punch, which gives a little bit of attitude, a bit of masculine intensity, I would say, to this fragrance. So it smells quite complex, but it's all smoothly blended. It's a quality blend here, as you would expect from Galan. I would say that this is perhaps for someone a little older, so I'd say maybe 25, maybe even 30 plus for this. I don't think this is a fun, sweet fragrance that a younger guy would carry off, although, you know, be my guest, try it, maybe it works for you. So it definitely has a classic classic cologne style appeal, but I don't think it ever becomes dated. I think it's still absolutely modern enough to wear for today. So if you want a classic gentlemanly style cologne with a good masculine bit of attitude in there, I think you won't go far wrong with Guerlain Vetiver. For the price and the quality of this, it's pretty amazing. So the next one is one of the cheapest on the list, not the cheapest. This one comes in at a whopping £12.99. To pick this one up, you will have to take a trip to your local Zara store. This is Zara's Unexpected Fresh Spicy. We've got cinnamon, patchouli, sandalwood, tobacco, and I feel like whenever I smell this one, I feel like I get maybe like a bit of saffron as well. It reminds me of other fragrances that I have that have saffron in. So this might remind you of parts of other fragrances, so maybe a little bit of Tobacco Vanille, maybe a little bit of Spice Bomb Extreme. It doesn't smell to me like it's a copy of any particular fragrance, whether it's intended to be or not, I'm not sure, but it feels like it just takes facets of other similar fragrances, you know, kind of spicy, tobacco, woody fragrances, and just amalgamates them all, throws them together in this bottle, and the result is just a really nice fragrance. So it's quite lively and spicy, but it's got some good depth to it as well. It's got a lovely opening pop with the tobacco and the woods. Performance of this is better than average for Zara fragrances, so you're getting maybe around 6 to 7 hours, so not amazing performance, but we've come to expect that from Zara fragrances. It does, however, perform better than a lot of the Zara freshies that I've got, so not really too many complaints about the performance, but don't expect it to be beast mode. But for the price of this one and for the quality of the scent, I think, you know, £12.99 is still well worth looking at. The next one is not just a cheapie, it's not just an ultra cheapie, this is an obnoxiously cheap cheapie. I mean, this is practically free. I bought this one from Poundland, which gives you a clue of how much this one cost me. It's called King in Million. So I'm sure you've already guessed, this is a copy of Paco Rabanne's 1 Million. Now I know Poundland is a UK store, but I'm guessing that the company that probably make these fragrances for Poundland, I think they're probably stocked in other stores. So I'm sure in the US you will find these maybe in a dollar store, something like that. So this isn't bad, you know. This is not bad at all when you consider it's practically a free fragrance. So it's got the fruits, it's got the spices, the leather, the amber, the woods. There's no denying this smells pretty similar to 1 Million. I thought this was going to smell like toilet cleaner, to be honest, but surprisingly it's quite a nice smooth blend. Okay, it doesn't quite have the performance of 1 Million, it doesn't quite have the quality, but this is £1 for 100ml, and 1 Million is about £50 for 100ml, and this is absolutely not 50 times worse than 1 Million. I think this is amazing value. If you want something that's just cheap and cheerful, then start saving up. The next one is from the house of Louis Cardin. This one comes in just under £30, I think on their website it's around 27, but don't forget, you can use my code FM20, that'll get you 20% off. This is Louis Cardin's take, I think anyway, on Creed's Silver Mountain Water, and it's called Credible Homme. Like Silver Mountain Water, it's fruity, it's fresh, it's uplifting. If anything, it's maybe a touch creamier than the Creed. I don't think it's quite as smooth. Obviously, the quality of the ingredients here aren't to the same standard as a Creed fragrance, but in the air, to me, seems to nail that DNA. It works just fine. It's a very pleasant scent. If you're looking for a good smelling, everyday, versatile fragrance and you don't want to pay Creed prices, then I can definitely recommend looking into Credible Homme from Louis Cardin.
Join the Scent Geeks every Monday as we podcast about all things fragrance. You'll find us anywhere you can usually find a podcast. Links are in the description below this video. See you there, geeks.
Next one is another ultra cheapie. This one was just £8 for a 100ml bottle. It's an amber fragrance, and you know what I'm going to say? This is one of my favourite ambers at the moment, from Primark of all places. This is called Amber Noir. So I think from the bottle, this is meant to be looking like a Jo Malone fragrance. Now, I'm not that big up on Jo Malone. It's a house that I do intend to explore. I have been in their stores and smelled things a few times, but there's something about their line that doesn't really resonate a lot with me. Some of them do, love Myrrh and Tonka, but a lot of them don't really speak to me, but maybe I just need to spend more time with them. So if this is inspired from a Jo Malone fragrance, I'm not quite sure which one it is. Has jasmine, suede, tonka, spiced amber, and I'm really impressed with how smooth this fragrance is and how much depth it has for the price. You would think that if they were just creating a very cheap, very synthetic amber accord, that you would get this ambery accord that just felt thin and didn't have depth. It's smooth, it's got a richness to it, it's got depth, has pretty decent performance. I think you'll get around 7 to 8 hours out of this one, and I find it to be quite a sensual scent. Sometimes when my wife wears this, I get the sillage and I just think, you're smelling good today. So I think this works well as like a sensual evening scent, you know, maybe for a date night scent, or if you want to wear it in cooler temperatures during the day, maybe in autumn and winter. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with this. Great quality, great smell, great price. So I think this next one was probably the first real cheap fragrance that I bought, and it's partly responsible for getting me into buying more fragrances. This one smells very similar to Tom Ford's Black Orchid. From Ardell Zaafaran, it's Oud 24 Hours. For me, this just gets really close to Black Orchid. I think maybe the patchouli in here isn't quite as earthy, but it gets the fruits, it gets the chocolate, it smells great quality, great performance off this one. I think the quality of this is way better than its price would suggest. Now, I'm aware that there's a few guys out there that feel that Black Orchid is maybe a little too feminine for them to pull off, and it's just absolutely personal taste. I have no problem with it, I really enjoy it. I think this fragrance works really well off me. If you're unsure, maybe, you know, try Black Orchid first, and then if it works for you, if you can pull it off, then this would be a safe buy. You know what? At £10, just buy it. Why not just buy it? And if you don't like it, give it the missus for Valentine's Day and she'll love you for it. But if you can rock this, it's a great addition to anyone's collection. Moving on to now the second Galan on this cheapie list, and I'm always amazed that I use the word Galan and cheapie in the same sentence, but here we are. This is an absolute banger. It's L'Homme Ideal Cologne. I think I paid around £20 for this, perhaps more like 25 including delivery, but I just think it's well worth it. At the heart of the Ideal line, there's an almond note, which lends a creaminess to the fragrance. So here, almond is paired with citruses, so we get this lovely creamy citrus. So it's very well rounded, very smooth, it's got lots of depth. For something that is labelled as a cologne, it's actually an eau de toilette, but it's not fleeting like you might imagine from a lot of colognes. This one hangs around, it's got great performance. So this is a classic cologne style, but with that creaminess, I think it's a really modern scent as well. So if you want something that has a classical appeal, but also is great quality, has great performance, smells modern, then for the price you pay for L'Homme Ideal Cologne, I think it's a no-brainer. I keep hearing this one is discontinued. I'm not sure if Galan are continuing to make this, but I did just check online at the time of making this video, and certainly this 50ml size anyway is still available at Fragrance X. I think it's listed on there at around $38. In the UK here, you can buy this off Amazon for £25. So for the quality, for the price, all things considered, it's a no-brainer. This next one I've talked about a few times on my channel before, but I don't think recently, so I'm glad to include it in this list. And I think if you're getting into starting a fragrance collection, this is definitely one you should look at, because the cost of this is really so low when you balance it out with the quality of the scent. From Jacques Bogart, it's Bugout Parfum. I would describe this as being a classic style fragrance, but with a modern twist. So there's some bergamot, some lavender, some oak moss, so you get that kind of timeless, classic feel to it. But there's a sweetness and a depth here, possibly coming from the tonka bean. So it's quite a lively fragrance. It's an uplifting, invigorating fragrance, but a classy, very gentlemanly scent at the same time. I think it does lean a little older. I think maybe you want to be at least 25 and upwards for wearing this. Some people say this reminds them of Mugler's Pure Havane. I do get that cherry tobacco vibe with this. It's not a listed note. Maybe it has some accords, some aroma chemicals that are similar to Pure Havane. I don't quite get it to the same degree. I do get it, but I don't get it to the same degree as Pure Havane. I don't get the same sweetness, and I get less of that woody, resinous character from Pure Havane, but I can see why some people would say it has similarities. So if you smelled that one, Pure Havane is sweeter, a little more fun. I don't think it has that classic gentlemanly feel to the same degree that Bogart Parfum does. But this is a lovely fragrance to own, and at around £16 for 100ml, it represents fantastic value. The smell is great. It has fantastic performance. This is possibly getting into beast mode territory, or almost there. Anyway, performance is great, smells great, price is amazing. Bogart Parfum. The last fragrance I'm going to talk about is not the cheapest cheapie on this list, but it's still under £30. But with this one, I think when you balance out the quality and the price, for me, this represents the best value of all the fragrances on this list. Imagine you've just dropped a wad of cash on a beautiful luxury car. You've probably not got much money left to spend, but you still want a scent that matches that luxury car and that luxury lifestyle. Well, Bentley have you covered with Bentley Formant Intense. This stuff is incredible. It's niche quality. There's cinnamon, rum, leather, benzoin, incense. So I get this creamy, boozy, woody fragrance. It smells natural, it smells high quality. It's got fantastic depth. It's got brilliant performance. This has made the top spot of this list for me, because when you balance out the price and the fragrance, it's already good. But the presentation here is luxury as well. It really represents the luxury that the Bentley brand exudes. Sample it first. The incense and the leather might make it a little too niche for some people. I don't think this is a starting out fragrance. I think this is a fragrance that you maybe work your way up to in terms of the notes in here and the complexity, you know, to really get your head around it. Doesn't work for everyone. Do sample it first. I adore it. I just need the luxury car to go with it. So there we go, my top 10 cheapies for life. After I tossed out the rest, these were the ones that were left over. So if you found this video because you're just getting into fragrances, because you're starting a collection and you want to find some cheaper fragrances to get the ball rolling on your collection, then I hope you found this useful. All the ones in here I think are great fragrances. I can highly recommend all of these. So now I need to tag some people to do this. I'm not going to go crazy with the tagging because I don't really know who's done this and who hasn't, so apologies if I'm tagging people that have already done it. I'm going to do one here in the UK, one over the water. Over the water, we're going off to Canada, and I'm going to tag Chad from the channel A Gentleman's Journey. Chad, I think you own a few cheapies, so I'd love to see what your 10 for life are. Back here in the UK, I'm going to tag Josephine from the excellent channel Jus de Rose. So Josephine, let's see what cheapies you've got. I will leave links to both those channels in the description so you can go along and check out their top 10 cheapies for life as well. So that's it guys, I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, keep tuning into FM and keep smelling good.